Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the new moon in Sagittarius, which happens on the 13th of December 2023. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Now, if you're in Europe or in Africa, this new moon does take place on the 13th at 32 minutes past midnight. If you're east of Europe, it happens later on in the day, so in the early morning. But if you're west of Europe, so in North or South America, then this happens in the evening on the 12th of December 2023. I always mention this, but a new moon and a full moon, I always say is a 3-day event because the moon doesn't just go pitch black at 32 minutes past midnight and then suddenly it's lit up again, right? Or it doesn't just become fully illuminated at, for instance, 15 minutes past the hour and then it does something else. It gradually works its way up to this, or it kind of works its way to be completely hidden and to take a break, which is what it's doing here. So it's interesting that this new moon is going to be felt even more powerfully and for a longer period. Because if you are in North or South America and this happens on the 12th, you'll start to feel this from the 11th, 12th and 13th. If you're in Europe, the 12th and 13th and 14th. If you're east of Europe, the 12th and 13th and 14th. And I would say, depending on how far east you are, it could even extend into the 15th of December. And that I think is very telling because this is a new moon in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is a fire sign that I often associate with individuality and power and strength and confidence. So I'll go into those details. The chart you see next to me here, that's a snapshot of the sky at the moment this new moon is going to take place. So what I'll do is I'll analyze this chart, see how the planets interact with each other. And the point of these horoscopes then is to try and get a sense of where the planets naturally support you and where things are going to be easy, so to pursue those things, and where some of the potential obstacles are and how to avoid them. Okay, so the first thing about this chart, obviously because it is a new moon, we've got the sun and the moon conjunct. They're both sitting at 20 degrees in Sagittarius. So the moon is pitch black. It's taking a moment to say, you know what, before I start my next 28-day cycle, I'm just going to reflect on where I've come from and the direction I want to move into next. So that's why the new moon is said to be a wonderful time to plant new seeds of intention, because you're not in the middle of things. You're taking a time out and you're saying, okay, let me just think about things before I jump back into action. So the new moon then is associated with the pioneer and the person who thinks independently, because I'm making these decisions for myself. So that's interesting because that is very similar to the energy of Sagittarius. And what I've noticed about this chart is that certain things repeat themselves and are crystal clear, and it adds up to a new moon that is going to make things crystal clear for you. So if you have any decisions to make, that's going to be a lot easier than it is usually. And if you have to look at things and get a sense of this works for me or this doesn't, and if that's usually a struggle, it's not going to be a struggle here. So we then have this new moon at 20 degrees. 20 reduces to 2 in numerology, and 2 is the vibration of cooperation and relationships. We have a relationship between the moon and the sun because they're sitting together, so they're very close. And I do call the moon your heart, what feels natural and easy, and the sun your head, what you're moving towards, what you would like to be on a conscious level, and what's empowering. So the relationship between your head and your heart is amazing. Your relationship with your higher self is really good. But it's not just that, it's relationships in the outside world. So my relationships with people in my life, my relationships with, and I'm getting just via Sagittarius, where I'm going in future. So the future itself becomes more accessible. The relationship I have with places and locations in the world. Am I happy where I am, or do I want to experience something new? And even the relationship between what am I learning at the moment? Am I honing my skills? Am I interested in a particular area? Or don't I want to learn anything right now? And am I happy with that? So all of those become very, very clear. And think of it as a bonfire. The warmth you get from that, you'll have a very clear response, whether you're too near to the fire, whether you need to step back a little bit, but it's not hard to decipher. You feel it on your skin, right? The fire as well, it lights everything up and it makes it much easier for you to see further down the road, so the future is kind of revealed. And then the connection of the sun and the moon, the new moon, with Sagittarius itself. So Sagittarius is the centaur, half horse, half man, and he's got his bow and arrow, and that arrow then points towards one thing in particular. So the choice is easy to make. I'm going to get the bullseye because this is important to me. It motivates me, it fires me up. This is where I want to go. And then the follow-up is such strength. I'm going to close the gap, the distance between myself and then this thing that I want by using all my strength. And I have the freedom to gallop into every area that I'm interested in. So I love this because it's so powerful and there isn't any kind of room for doubt here. Sagittarius, I would say, doesn't reach a conclusion by doing a ton of research and poring over all the notes and everyone else's opinion. Sagittarius is wonderfully blessed that it's able to keep things simple and to say, I make a decision here because I like a particular subject, or I'm going to talk to this person because I find them attractive, and that's more than enough for me to go close the gap between me and them and to say hello, right? So it's not particularly tortured when it comes to, should I do this or this? So this new moon is wonderful in its simplicity to allow you to pick certain things in your life just because they work for you. Okay, so the new moon in Sagittarius then, it forms certain relationships with other planets in the chart. And first of all, let's have a look. I'm just hesitating because I'm kind of getting the message that there's more to say about Sagittarius in terms of the muscle that's involved. If you find it difficult to stand in your truth or in your power, if you think a lot about what other people may say, or you're incredibly considerate and you're like, oh, no, I can't put myself first. I have to consider other people's feelings here. And maybe even I need other people's support if I'm going to go in a new direction. All of that is very alien to Sagittarius, the centaur, because it's like, I have all this strength. Of course, I'm going to use it for myself first and foremost. And it's also ruled by Jupiter, the lucky planet. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system, and it's about growth and expansion, and it kind of inflates everything and makes it much bigger. So I am the biggest thing here in the zodiac. Of course, I'm going to use that elevated kind of status for myself to reach my own goals first before I reach it for everyone else. So again, if there's anything usually that you struggle with when it comes to self-doubt or feeling vague or indecisive, that goes up, excuse me, it's too much, but it goes up in smoke here. It kind of goes poof, because there isn't any room for over-analysis or self-doubt. Okay, so the new moon then, it forms certain relationships, and the first one is that it forms a quincunx with Uranus at 19 degrees in Taurus. Uranus is the planet of the miraculous and the unexpected. 19 is 10, 1 and 9 is 10, and 10 then reduces to 1 in numerology. And 1 is, again, the vibration of the pioneer, the person who operates independently. In the tarot, it's the magician, the person who downloads spiritual content and then translates it into magic on earth. So again, it puts the ball in your court here. Uranus in Taurus makes your environment seem almost translucent. These circumstances, these people, these things I'm connected to, my physical body, finance, all of those things aren't rules now, they're guidelines. I realize in my bones, in my skin, that the circumstances that I'm in right now are because of decisions I've made in the past. And now, during this new moon, I get a blank slate, a clear slate, whatever it may be. You're at ground zero. You get to decide if my circumstances are malleable and I can work with them and control them and change them by listening to my confidence and what motivates me, then they have no power over me and they don't control me as such. So the person in charge here is the person who feels motivated and who has a desire to achieve a certain goal. So with Uranus in Taurus, you're willing to face chaos and uncertainty if it puts you in a position where I have the freedom to choose, I have total autonomy here. That's what I value during this new moon, not structure and security, and things don't define me. So I'm going to use my power to define my environment, my circumstances, and not the other way around. So you can see the way I'm talking, it's very much about independence and confidence. On the flip side of this, if you're in a situation where you have to adapt and where you have to compromise, that's going to feel challenging because this is a 3 or 4 or 5 day period where you do want to make decisions for yourself. So just be aware of that, and that's one of the obstacles I think you could face, that if you're absolutely forced to kind of align yourself and adapt to someone else's will and desire, that could make you somewhat frustrated, because the key thing here is to use this fire and to point it like a bow and arrow towards something specific that's important to you. And if you don't get that chance, it may not go down very well. So try and build in a time, an hour, or if you have the luxury of making a whole day about what it is you want and what you want to pursue and explore, that's really going to satisfy the energy of this new moon in Sagittarius, and you'll have something to show for it at the end because you will have made progress and you will have got closer to your goal. Uranus then quincunxes the south node at 21 degrees in Libra. The south node in a birth chart shows me where you're coming from on a spiritual level. The north node shows the direction you're moving in. And the south node here at 21 degrees, 2 and 1 is 3, that's communication and new beginnings. So I've done new beginnings before. I know what they feel like. I've ticked that box. So that doesn't feel scary or worrying at all because you've already mastered that. And Libra is your connection to things, your relationships. So I have started new relationships, and again, in any area, with the higher realms, with other people, with work, with places in the world, with different ways of looking at things, ideologies, dogmas. So the South Node gives you a sense of accomplishment when it comes to, I have some experience in this field, and I know, again, deep down, that, for instance, this kind of relationship is really great for me, and it's easy, and I thrive, and other relationships are harder. So, for example, my relationships with partners or a partner, that was really straightforward, and I didn't struggle with that. And again, for example, but when it comes to spirituality, for instance, I've never had much interest in meditation or prayer or trying to decipher what, the universe wants for me. So it's a sense of confidence around all of your relationships and a sense of ease when it comes to those things that haven't worked in the past, that at least you've tried. And then with the quincunx to Uranus and Taurus, if I try this again today, I have such confidence and motivation that the outcome may be different. And ultimately, I only need to ask myself, what fires me up? That's the green light here during this new moon in Sagittarius to pursue those things, and I will get a miraculous and different outcome by trying again. So the compass you're using, the navigation system, is your inner fire. So even try and visualize that. Close your eyes and see the inner flame, and then kind of this radar that exists around you, kind of look at different things. So for instance, inner flame, so relationships with people, education, traveling, and you kind of shift it around and you see where the fire really kind of gets bigger and makes you feel even more empowered. That's the thing to go for. And the reason I'm saying that is because the South Node then sextiles the new moon in Sagittarius, and that, the two quincunxes and the sextile, they create a yod. A yod is this finger-looking like thing, and it is known as the finger of God because it gives you a very specific quality when this kind of appears in a chart. And it connects this new moon in Sag, so of course I can do it. I feel motivated, I'm super strong, why wouldn't I do it? With Uranus and Taurus, the world is here to be defined by me and not the other way around. And the South Node in Libra, which is, I've done new beginnings before, I've acted on my own before. So this is a wonderful opportunity to now actually get what I want. So it's an unusual quality in terms of the ease in which you can pick something without ho-humming about it. And then this sense of it's going to be easy because I'm me. I don't know about you, but I don't always have that sense of confidence about myself. So this is something to kind of really borrow for the day via this new moon in Sagittarius. And you'll be able to accomplish things that have eluded you in the past. Okay, then we have some other relationships forming. We have the new moon forming a square with Neptune at 24 degrees in Pisces. Neptune is the water planet of dreams and intuition, and it's very happy in Pisces because it rules that sign. So you have access to the entire galaxy here, and 2 and 4 is 6. 6 is a temporary opportunity. So you find that you have an opportunity, one, to build a relationship to the higher realms. So like that example before, if you've never had a sense of, you know, some sort of bigger spiritual presence out there, you have an opportunity to explore that and to find out more. And because Sagittarius and this new moon, the pioneers, ruled by Jupiter as such, I would say, and please feel free to disagree with me in the comments, that anything that stems from, I'm doing this because it fires me up, is supported by the good luck of Jupiter, and you're more likely to succeed than not. And this opportunity via Neptune and Pisces gives you that window to kind of connect for the first time. It also gives you a very open door policy when it comes to tapping into your own intuition, your own hopes and dreams. So again, same thing, it says, I don't have a lot of doubt here. I am crystal clear about what I want and what I want to accomplish in future. I'm not so interested in what I've already completed, what's next for me, and I'm only going to engage with things that are, I mean, the word enjoyable is a little weak. Things that are fulfilling and meaningful. That's what I'm meaningful to me. So I'm not going to waste my time here. Then we have the new moon in Sagittarius forming a trine. So it's 120 degrees away from Chiron at 15 degrees in Aries. Chiron is the wounded healer. In Aries, it's about how am I, through taking personal action, able to heal myself. And at 15 degrees, 1 and 5 is 6. That's, again, a temporary opportunity. So there genuinely is an opportunity to make yourself feel even stronger by borrowing the energy of this new moon and to heal wounds that you haven't been able to heal in the past. So, for instance, if I had a really awful experience public speaking, right? I went on stage and then I said something and, I mean, worst case scenario, they all laughed at me and I vowed never to publicly speak again. And that kind of thing has happened to all of us. It doesn't have to just be public speaking. We've all had negative experiences where we've put ourselves out there, especially when we've cared about something and it's really gone wrong. And most of us then say, this is worse than just any old negative experience because this was really important to me. I really cared, so it hurts more. Those kind of wounds can be healed by trying again and pursuing things that you enjoy. Because one, it's going to allow you to block out to a certain degree that negative experience. You can try again. You're very likely to have a positive experience here on this day. And then you can substitute the evidence as such. So let's say on this day, the public speaking, that was bad, I'm going to try again. And on this day, you have a good experience here. Then in future, it's not going to be as terrifying to go up on stage and talk because you had one negative experience, but you also had an amazing experience here on this day. So it could go either way next time, so the stakes are lower. So that's the kind of thing you can work through to build your confidence, not just during this new moon, but for the foreseeable future because you heal something within yourself. Then we also have a trine, yes, with the North Node at 21 degrees in Aries. So I mentioned the South Node on the other side of the chart. I've done new beginnings. I have connected with other people before and things and places. What I really want today is 21, 3. I want to make a new beginning. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. ruled by Mars, the planet of drive and ambition. I want to use all of this power to make a new beginning in an area that is just about me, where I make progress solo, and I want this to be something that contains obstacles. I want this to be hard. Aries is the ram, right? And it enjoys moving forward, but it likes ramming things out of the way. If it's just smooth sailing, then it gallops on, fine, but it's not using its horns. So part of its gift isn't being appropriately implemented. I would say it does much better when it comes to knocking things out of the way, because that really is what sets it apart. So you're not going to have this desire for everything to be easy. There's a natural desire to face really hard things in your life, obstacles, and to overpower them with this amazing amount of fire that needs to kind of spill out into something. I suppose spill is the wrong word because it's water. A fire is uncontrollable, right? Like the saying, what's the saying? They get on like a house on fire. You light a candle, it falls over, you don't pay attention for a few minutes, and the whole thing is a flame. So it has a life of its own. It wants to get bigger and it wants to devour. So use this monstrous ability of fire to really burn away your past issues and the obstacles that are in your path. And it's really taking something that is fundamentally uncontrollable, tapping into it to resolve issues that you don't have control over, or that you've not had the power to get rid of in the past. So you can have a really significant breakthrough here. The other relationships, let's see, we have the square I've mentioned, the trines I've mentioned, and the next one is the quincunx, which I mentioned, to Uranus and Taurus. That then creates the yod, the finger of the higher realms, the higher powers. Oh, and with that yod also, there's a sense that you're being supported by something bigger, and the way that it manifests and comes through, not as you having to sit there and meditate and you get some sort of feeling or you get some answer. The guidance of the universe is this uncontrollable desire to move forward and to blast things out of your way. So in my case, then I would use that to things where I failed. So excessive power equals excessive problems. Put them together and you find a new way forward. Okay, but then there's something really significant in the chart as well. It's called a kite, but let me just finish the actual aspect patterns that connect this new moon with things. So the yod I mentioned, what else? Let's see. Yeah, that then moves on. And the next relationship is a sextile. So the new moon is 60 degrees away from, again, the south node at 21 degrees in Libra, and I've mentioned that because it's part of the yod. Okay, so those are the things the new moon in itself connects to. But then if you like move your head around a little bit, you'll see a big blue triangle at the center of the chart. And that's called a grand trine. That's an area of real talent, and usually they're in one element. This one connects Mercury, the communication planet, in Capricorn, with Jupiter in Taurus, and Black Moon Lilith in Virgo. So this grand trine is in the element of Earth. And Earth is all about your practical circumstances, your work, your income, your physical health, your ability to build structures in a real sense, to create a structure that exists in its own right. So with that grand trine, you have a major talent to communicate with your work and to express your power in work. You have the ability to just assume via Jupiter in Taurus that if there's an opportunity here, of course it's going to go well for me. And that assumption may sound simple, but that, in my opinion, is all the battle. So, for instance, of course I'm going to be able to stop smoking because it's me, so I can stop smoking. That is really unusual. Usually, for instance, if someone stops smoking, it's like, I want to stop smoking, but yeah, it'll happen next week or the week after because I don't want to face those horrible cravings or the addiction. I just don't want to face it today. So that overconfidence, that uncontrollable fire, you can apply it to even difficult things like that. Addictions, things that you feel govern your body, like I need this substance to feel okay. you can even overcome things like that. If there are things in your work, your living situation, your practical circumstances. So this job, I don't particularly like it, but these are just my qualifications and I don't have any other options. Then again, this overconfidence will say, who cares about my qualifications? Of course I can do something else. You see? So use this to your advantage to hop over things which have kept you stuck in the past. Black Moon Lilith at 7 degrees in Virgo, I can make sense of everything in my environment. I can get creative with the conclusions that I reach, be empowered at implementing them so that I can change my circumstances. So the big talent here is, again, that your actual circumstances don't define you. You feel that you've transcended your circumstances and you define them. So it's a similar thing to what I said earlier via Uranus and Taurus. But not only do we have this grand trine, on one side of it we have 2 sextiles peaking with Venus in Scorpio. And when we have that, so if you turn, don't break your neck, but you really turn your neck, or I can actually turn the chart around here, because it then becomes a kite, and it looks like an actual kite. So this triangle with 2 things on the top, and a kite is a major talent that when you use it, can have life-changing implications. So we've got all the Earth, and now with Venus and Scorpio at the top of it at 9 degrees, I feel passionate about my truth, my desires, and not only do I feel this is important for me to pursue, I feel that there's something bigger, like the universe is giving me all this confidence, and it's really urgent and vital that I do something with it. So again, there's zero room for self-doubt or error. Venus in Scorpio is super, super intense. It likes to look at all the dark stuff that usually you shy away from. It is passionate about intense feelings and facing those difficult truths that, again, most of us skirt past because we find it offensive or frightening, or, you know, like that's, I mean, I may be going off topic here, but that's why I feel like if you're having like a family dinner, that's why everyone involved at that dinner is so careful to just keep it light, because often there may be a sense that, you know, if I get really vulnerable or real about what I'm really feeling here, then this darkness may appear and swallow us all up in it. And we may start to talk about something awful that happened 5 years ago. And then the whole thing is going to be ruined or defined by that darkness. 9 is spirituality and completion. So there is this intense sense that I'm being kind of spiritually supervised here. I'm being given this knowledge, this clarity, this fire, because I have this chart, I have this ability like a kite to take off and to let the wind kind of put me up there in the sky where I can fly on my own and be free, and I can inspire everyone who sees me just by being present up here. So you're able to transcend yourself as you are now by facing the most difficult things in your life and taking this fire and putting it as a blowtorch and applying it to everything that you want to get rid of in your life that you haven't been able to get rid of before. And that's a big statement, you know, like to say that this is a day that makes it possible to let go of an addiction or to overcome an addiction. That's something that can define you for decades. It's a hard thing. It's really difficult. Or if you've been in a job that you've known for years you don't like, but you've done it because, I don't know, of the benefits, or I'm the only breadwinner in the family, I have to put up with this nonsense. To overcome something like that is a huge life shift. So what I'm saying here via this new moon, set the intention to change your life in earnest by facing difficult truths and freeing yourself of those things that seem to define you. And I'm just thinking, because, you know, if you've worked as I'm just thinking of jobs. So I'm not saying this is a bad job, but I'm just thinking of a job that a lot of people wouldn't. Let's say you've been a telemarketer, okay? Because that's the job you've kind of taken. A lot of the people around you are going to see you not just as a person who works in telemarketing, but they're going to see you after a couple of years. This has been my experience with things. They're going to see you as the person who's a telemarketer. They're not going to be able to say, well, you've always had this passion for, creating your own works of sculpture. They're not going to encourage you to do that if you haven't told them about it, or you haven't ever demonstrated that you're an amazingly talented sculptor. And the only person who can then change your circumstances is you by getting into the sculpting, even if you've been disappointed with it in the past and it didn't work and you had to go back to the telemarketing. You can look at it again today, make a go of it, and other people will then start to twig that you're different because you're doing things differently. I hope that made sense. But this kite enables you to really transcend things that haven't worked out in the past, where you feel like you failed in the past, the most painful things in your life. This gives you the motivation to try again. The strongest modes on the day is mutable. That's about, I go with the flow and I look at what's happening in my life and I align myself with the energies for the best results. So tap into this. You don't have to make anything happen or understand it as such. It's simply using that compass. This motivates me. I'm going to go with the flow of that for the best outcome. And obviously then the strongest element on this day is fire, which is about, this is my purpose, my passion. But I mentioned this again in the weekly horoscope, but the combination of the kite then with this grand trine in earth and all this fire, I always think of that as take some clay, mold it, and then apply heat to it, put it in the kiln, and then take it out and you have this beautiful piece of pottery. So that's this process. You're able to work with your circumstances, which is really pliable, apply the heat of your desires, your hopes and dreams, your motivations, and then present yourself with this artwork, the artwork being a life that really suits you, that you want to live because the things in it are enjoyable to you. Let's see if there's anything else that I've missed. This isn't traditionally an aspect pattern, but what I'm noticing is the quincunx between the South Node in Libra and Uranus in Taurus. It intersects another quincunx which goes from the rising sign in Libra to Saturn at 1 degree in Pisces. And it's kind of like this formation. And this formation to me says what I've done in the past doesn't stay away. And also what other people want for me, stay away. This is about me. So I think you're able to create better boundaries for yourself and not struggle so much with that. So if you feel like, in the past I've had times where I've been codependent and let myself be defined by other people, it's much easier to say, no, I've got other stuff to do today. Okay, so that's what I get for you here during this new moon in Sagittarius. I hope it gives you something to go on. If you would like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. When you get to the website, scroll down a little bit until you get to the button that says book your reading. Click on that to order your reading with me. In my personal readings, I draw up your birth chart the same way I have this chart. So I need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. If you don't have the time of birth, then order a chart rectification with me, please. That's a process where you send me 10 or more life events and I manually work out your time of birth. And that's really helpful because the chart changes every 4 minutes. So the more accurate the time is, the more accurately I can read your natal chart. If you like the tarot, if you like the tarot, then please subscribe to the channel and check out my memberships. I do a daily tarot reading on my channel that's available to members. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up, please. Subscribe to the channel and share it online. I hope you have a wonderful time here during the new moon in Sag, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best. Oh, and check out the weekly horoscope that I mentioned so often because I go through each day of the week. And obviously this new moon is a part of that. So it puts it into another context, how you can use it most effectively. All the best, and I'll speak to you soon.